What's going on? What's going on? What's going on, brothers? What's happening? What's happening? What's happening? I hope you guys can see me. If you can see me clearly, I need y'all to put one in the chat. If you can see me clearly, I need you brothers to put one inside of the chat. I just want to talk to you brothers briefly. I want to talk to you brothers, Billy. What's going on? What's going on? What's going on, Ron Matthews? What's going on, Jamaica? SYSBN, what's happening? What's happening? Oh, I'm outside, man. I'm outside. It's a beautiful day. It is a beautiful day in August. August the 11th, Thursday, August the 11th, 2022. I hope you guys are well. I'm not going to waste too much time. I'm not going to waste too much time today, but I'm outside here. It's a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful evening. SYSBM is in the house. Save yourself, black man. Save yourself, black man. That is the moniker. That is the ideology. That is what we are all about. Save yourself, black man. Salute, 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 salute to all you brothers. Salute to all you brothers. What's going on? What's going on? Black men's independence is in the house. Black men's agency is in the house. Black men's empowerment is in the house. Black men's happiness is in the house. And this is another Mad Professor broadcast, my brothers. And I'm coming to you live from the wonderful state of North Carolina. And I'm not gonna waste too much time, brothers. I'm gonna get right into this. Let me tell you guys, I have never, ever seen so much ignorance. I have never, ever seen so much stupidity. I have never, ever seen so much, I'm gonna make a word up right now, unenlightenment in all of my life. 48 years, I'm going on 49, I'll be 49 in September. And I have never seen as much nonsense as I have witnessed over the past week regarding black men who travel, black men who have passports. I thought black men had more sense than this. I thought black men had more intelligence than this. I thought black men had more sophistication than this. And what I'm seeing right now is a serious black backlash that tells me and tells those of us who travel that we as black men have a lot of work to do. We have a lot of work to do, especially in this space. And I'm going to be honest with you guys. I'm going to be completely honest with you. I'm disgusted, man. I'm disgusted. I'm so disgusted that, you know what? I'm embarrassed. I'm embarrassed to be a part of this space right now. I am really embarrassed. I am embarrassed by the fact that you got black men, who are resisting the idea of black men traveling the world. You have black men who are resisting the notion of black men exploring different cultures. You have resistance to the idea of black men learning different languages, of black men understanding different geographies, of black men eating different foods, of black men living in different contexts. I am disgusted by the fact that you have men who are resisting an international ethos and movement among black men. It is disgusting. It is disgusting. Let me tell you something. Do you know that there would not have been a civil rights movement? I want y'all to see this. there would not have been a civil rights movement in the 20th century without black men who traveled. There would not have been a movement if you did not have black men who were in the Navy, black men who were in the Marines, black men who were in the Air Force, black men who were in the Army, black men who fought in wars, black men who fought in World War I, black men who fought in World War II, black men who fought in the Korean War, black men who fought in the Vietnam War, black men who fought in the Gulf War, black men who have been to Afghanistan, black men who have been all over the world, and they have seen a different reality other than the United States. I am disgusted by the fact that we are rejecting an entire history, an entire move on the part of black men who went to different parts of the world, and they came to the conclusion and to the realization that the American experience was not the end of the world. Do you know how liberating it was for black men to go into France? Do you know how liberating it was for black men to go into Italy? Do you know how liberating it was for black men to go into Germany with guns and to fight? Yes, and they fought on behalf of the United States. Do you know how liberating it was for black men to be in a different context and to meet different people, different women, and different cultures? Do you know what that did to their psychology? Do you know what that did to their personality? Huh? I'm not yelling at you, brothers. I'm not yelling at you, brothers, because those of you who subscribe to this channel know that I support travel. But the fact remains is that black men traveled the world via the military, and they came to the conclusion that they could not come back to the United States. They could not come back to America. They could not go back to South Carolina. They could not go back to Georgia. They could not go back to Alabama. They could not go back to Mississippi, New York, California, Michigan, Ohio. They could not go back to Louisiana. They could not go back to Florida. They could not go back to any part of the United States and deal with business as usual. And the reason why they could not deal with business as usual is because those black men who traveled in the military had a taste of freedom that gave them a deep hatred of and intolerance of Jim Crow, American apartheid. They hated it. And they could not live in the United States any longer as men who were confined to the restraints, the terrorism, and the horrors of an American nation that denied them all of their rights, all of their constitutional rights. The First Amendment, the Second Amendment, the Sixth Amendment, the Fifth Amendment, the 14th Amendment, the 13th Amendment, the 15th Amendment, doggone it. And many of those men became activists. Many of those men joined the Nation of Islam. Many of those men are responsible for black liberation at the end of the 1960s. We would not be here right now. We would not be having conversations about American democracy. We would not be having conversations about the state of America in the world. We would not be having conversations about American imperialism had not these black men traveled the world. And this is nonsense. This is nonsense and utter stupidity. And the ruling class of this society, particularly the Southern ruling class of this society, did not like the fact that you had these black men who came back to America and they had an uppity attitude, that they were no longer going to tolerate second-class citizenship. That, my brothers, is the benefit of travel. That, my brothers, is the benefit of getting a passport. That is the benefit of working your tail off, saving your money, getting out of debt, and traveling the world and seeing something other than the United States. Oh, I'm preaching today. I am preaching today. I am preaching today. And you got a great deal of black men who are foolish, who are stupid, who are following behind uninformed, unenlightened, resentful women who believe that they own black men and who want to dictate black male happiness, who want to dictate the fates of black men, who want to dictate where black men are going in the future. And that's what we're doing. Ain't nobody playing. They want to hold you back. They want to keep you on the American plantation. They don't want you to exercise your agency. The women are mad. The women are upset. Women that don't want you. Women that don't want you. Women that call you trash. Women that call you dusty. Women who constantly move the goalpost. It doesn't matter who you are. You can be Pookie. You can be at the bottom. You can be at the middle. You can be working class. You can be an upper middle class black man. You can be an upper class black man. And never satisfied with what you bring to the table. Yet, now, they've got so much to say. They've got so much to express. So much venom and vitriol towards black men who travel. Who travel the world. And oh, my brothers. This passport thing right now, this backlash against passport brothers that's coming from these dating coaches, this backlash against passport brothers that's coming from these conservative black men who have never left the United States, these ultra-conservative, moralistic, Christian black men who don't know what it's like to deal with other people from different cultures, who don't know what it's like to deal with other women from different cultures. And it doesn't matter how you deal with the women. It doesn't matter if you meet the woman, if you go to Brazil, if you go to Rio de Janeiro, if you go to Salvador Bahia, if you go to the continent of Africa, if you go to any country, any of the 54 countries on the continent of Africa, if you go to Central America, if you go to Eastern Europe, if you take your butt to Uzbekistan, if you take your butt to any part of the world, Germany, France, the United Kingdom, these people do not want you to exercise BMA, black men's agency. And I got to get this off my chest. I got to get this off of my chest. I wasn't going to go live, and this is another inspired live broadcast here, and I'm outside chilling. I'm outside taking in the sun. It's evening time here. But this is utter nonsense. All this nonsense about tricking. All this nonsense about so-called sexual tourism and all this kind of stuff. Let me tell you something, brothers. You got black men you were tricking right here. All the game coaches, All the so-called dating coaches, they just giving you formulas to trick right here. To trick right here with a population of people who are detrimental to your well-being. A population of people who devalue you, who have absolutely no respect for you. And they themselves are tricking. They themselves are going to the clubs, the strip clubs. They themselves are going to Magic City in Atlanta and making it rain and doing all that stuff. They themselves are going to Onyx in Houston. They're going to Onyx in Charlotte, North Carolina. They themselves are on OnlyFans. They themselves are running up in the DMs of these thoughts that you see on Instagram, flying them out and getting absolutely nothing for the stuff that they invest in these thoughts. Nothing. And I want to make it perfectly clear to everybody who is hearing my voice right here. Everybody who's hearing my voice. I don't care what you do, whatever you go, in any part of the world, as long as everything that you do is consistent with the laws of whatever country that you go to. If you go to any country in Africa, you abide by the laws in any country in Africa. If you go to any country, any part of Brazil, if you go to the Dominican Republic, if you go to Cuba, if you go to any part of the Caribbean, you abide by the laws of the country that you're in. You adhere to the culture that you're in. I don't care what you do, as long as that you're involved in an interaction that involves consent with an adult. That is the only thing that matters. Consent. Consensual relationships with an adult. That's the only thing that matters. So you can miss me with all this stuff about sex tourism. You can miss me with all this stuff about tricking. You can miss me with all this stuff about sexual trafficking and all this kind of nonsense. Most of us who travel have resources. Most of us who travel have jobs. Most of us who travel have investments. It is not in our best interest to go to another country and violate the laws of another country. It is not in our interest. And the women do whatever they want to do. The women do whatever they want to do. If they like you because you're an American and they think that you have greater advantages than the men in their own country, in their own society, and they hook up with you, so be it. It's called a fair exchange. It's called a fair exchange. It doesn't matter how you do it. You can go on Tinder. You can use Tinder, doggone it. In most of these countries, Tinder is all over the doggone world. And you can meet people on Tinder. You can go to the clubs, you can go to the bars, you can go to the restaurants, you can go to the beaches, you can go anywhere you want to. And meet people who are interested in you and who are interested in a fair exchange. In a fair exchange where the benefits, all of the benefits outweigh all of the costs. All of the benefits of buying a ticket or an airline ticket, whether the airline ticket is $800, $1,000, $1,500, $2,000, $3,000, the benefits outweigh the cost. The benefits of a hotel outweighs the cost. The benefits of an Airbnb outweighs the cost. The benefits are always greater. And there are more benefits in another land than there are right here in the United States. Because what you're dealing right here is a high-risk situation. You're dealing with a high-risk situation. The American woman, the American strag, is a high risk. A high risk. There is no guarantee of high rewards or great rewards. There is no guarantee. And you know that. I don't have to tell you that. And I'm talking to you from experience. Let me tell you, brothers, and you all know me, I just came back from Africa. I'm getting ready to go back to Africa. So all the passport haters and all these people who are part of this backlash, they can miss me with it. They can miss me with it. Guys, I'm on my phone. I see your comments. I can't highlight your comments. I got my janky Android. I got my janky Android. I see your comments, guys. Get those passports. And I love the fact that you got young black men. A lot of us are over the age of 40 who are in the passport world. But you got young black men right now who are under the age of 30. You got young black men who are under the age of 25. They've gotten the message. And the message resonates with them. The message resonates with disease because disease see everything that we talk about. Because disease have to deal, if you're 22 years old, 23 years old, 25 years old, hell, if you're 18 years old, you have to deal with your counterpart who has been socialized by a woman who is in her late 30s, a woman who is in her 40s, hell, and in some instances, a woman who is in her 50s. Their mamas have damaged their daughters. These 20-year-olds, females, 21, 22, 23, 24, 18-year-old American females, they have been corrupted, they have been damaged by the mamas, they have been damaged by the grandmothers, they have been damaged by the aunts, they have been damaged by their sisters, and a whole lot of these women are irreversibly damaged, brothers, irreversibly damaged. They are not marriage material. And see, that's what the haters and the people who are part of this backlash don't seem to get. You don't seem to get. You see, you got black men who really want relationships. You got black men who really want long-term relationships. You got black men who want to have families. They want to get married. They want to have children. They want stability. They don't want to go through the divorce culture that we have here in the United States. They don't want to deal. With the child support system as it exists right here in the United States. They don't want to deal with the funky attitudes. They don't want to deal with the belligerence. They don't want to deal with the combativeness. They don't want to deal with the hatred that they get from their female counterparts. So they have smartened up. At a young age, and they have made long-term plans. Because I'm going to tell you guys, if you are a 22-year-old black man and you take your butt to a different country and you experience a different country that is radically different than the culture of the United States, the impact of that experience is so expansive and so extensive that it's going to fundamentally shape the course of your life. It's going to shape the course of your life. So those black men who are in their 20s, who are preparing to travel or who are traveling right now, by the time they turn 30 years old, those black men are going to be super men. They're going to be worldly citizens. They're going to be cultured men. They're going to be men adept in other languages, men familiar with different cultures, men who know different economies, do different lifestyles, men who are able to navigate the globe, men who are not restricted to the borders of the United States. That's exactly what they're going to, that's exactly what's going to happen to them by the time they turn 30 years old. And we make no apology. We made no apology for this passport movement. We made no apology for this passport ideology. And I'm so glad. I'm so glad. I'm so glad that the people are upset. I'm glad that the women are upset because it forces the women to look in the mirror. It forces the women to evaluate the culture that they participate in. It forces the women to deal with misandry and the utter hatred of black men. That's what it does. That's what this passport thing does. Yes, you take your resources out. You outsource. You outsource. What you do is you depress. You depress the dating economy in the United States. You put the dating economy in a depression. That's what you do. First it comes with the recession. Then it comes with the Great Depression. That's what it does. That's what it does. And there's no need for you to apologize. I see all these guys out here on panels apologizing and explaining and articulating why I travel, why we travel, why we're doing this. And this is the nonsense I'm talking about right here. You don't explain yourself to nobody. Don't nobody own you, black man. I want y'all to get this. Don't nobody own black men. He said black women do not own black men. We are not the property of black women. We are not the property of American women. We are not the property of other black men. We need to understand that we don't, no one owns us. No one owns us, brothers. And that's the fundamental problem. You got people who own us. All of this depolicing, this depolicing, and I got to say, I have to give a shout out to Edward Anderson, because Edward Anderson, he called it. He called it, because a lot of this depolicing that these black men are doing is borderline homoerotic. This is homoerotic. This is homoerotic. If you sitting around here as a black man and you got a YouTube channel, and you got a YouTube channel, you got to ask yourself, what are you doing depolicing another black man? Do you want a black man for yourself? Do you want all you haters, you black men, you dating coaches, do you want black men for yourself? Are you undercover? Are you on the down low? Are you bisexual? Because I'm getting these vibes now that you got. Maybe we got a whole bunch of brothers out here that are bisexual. They're on the down low. They want them another black men. They don't want people that they in our space. Down low homosexuals policing what black men do. Caring about what black men do. This is nonsense. This is homoerotic. This is homosexuality. That's what it is. Why do you care what another man does with his penis? And where he takes his penis? On what part of the world he travels with his penis, his nuts? Why do you care? This is some gay stuff, guys. This is some homosexual stuff. And see, the dating coaches know that they can't sell that stuff. You can't sell it. You got these guys 40 years old, 50 years old, 60 years old. That's all they know. Been doing the game stuff since they were 13 years old. I did the game stuff. I grew up, most of us black men who came from a certain place and a different era. Shout out to all you guys. Appreciate you, Tim Howard. Appreciate you, my guys. Thank you. A salute to Dr. Thunder. I learned game when I was 11 years old. I learned how to talk to women when I was 11. I taught the women when I was in elementary school. I taught the girls when I was in elementary school. I was hollering at them being charismatic and trying to be seductive and doing the player thing when I was 14, when I was 15, most of my doggone adult life. So game ain't nothing new. Game ain't nothing new. And if the truth be told, game is for broke men. It's for broke men. And the reason why it's for broke men, because you have nothing else to bargain with. You have no leverage, you have no chips, you have no money, you have no power, you have no real status in society. All you have is your mouthpiece. That's all you have. That's all you have. The richest men on the planet, the most affluent, the most wealthy men on the planet, they don't need no doggone game. You know why they don't need game? Because the women come to them. The women come to them without them even approaching them, without them even asking to be seduced. They're there because they'll find you. If you have it, if you're in the right location, if you have built yourself up, the women, they're going to find you. They're going to make themselves known to you. And they're going to try to holler at you. That's why this stuff about game it's just utter nonsense. It's a broke man's hustle. That's what it is. It's a broke man's hustle. If you don't want to spend no money and you want to spend a whole bunch of time trying to psychologically manipulate a woman like a pimp, to psychologically manipulate a woman like a pimp, then you take that game route. And it doesn't offer any guarantees, because what you do is you spend a whole bunch of time trying to persuade somebody to get with you with no guarantee that she gonna sleep with you, no guarantee that she gonna be with you short term, no guarantee that she gonna be with you long term. And that's the risk that you take with this old game nonsense. You see, I don't have no time for game. I don't have time to be approaching women, 10, 20 women per day. I ain't got time for that. I'm a scholar. I write books. I got investments. I got more important things to do than to try to psychologically game or manipulate some female. More important things to do. And see, game is also for women who don't understand, women who have a very basic and a very primitive understanding of what masculinity is. Very basic and very primitive. You are reduced to your penis. She's reducing you to your penis. She's reducing you to your height. I'm 6'1". I ain't got a problem with height. I'm not an ugly dude. She's reducing you to your cuteness, your attractiveness. I'm not an ugly dude. I'm not an ugly dude, guys. I don't say this to pat myself on the back, but I ain't no ugly dude. But you are wasting time. That's a young man's game. That's a young, broke man's game, okay? A young, broke man's game. That's it. So you need to go somewhere where women respect masculinity. You need to go somewhere where women can appreciate. They can appreciate humane treatment. Black men are the most egalitarian. Black men are the most gentlemanly. Black men are the most benevolent men in the doggone world. And there are women from different lands, different cultures who speak different languages, Portuguese, French, Spanish, German, etc., who appreciate what you bring. They appreciate it. They love it. And guess what? They reward you for it. So this stuff about black men traveling and the backlash is just nonsense. We have made a decision that we're not trying to save the American woman. We're not trying to save the American woman. We're not trying to save the American black woman. She's already made her position clear. And I'm talking about the collective woman. The collective American woman, the collective black woman, she has made herself clear that she wants to be by herself. She has made herself clear. I meet women all the time who tell me unemphatically. I meet women all the time in this country, in America, right here in North Carolina, who tell me, I don't want to get married. I don't want a long-term relationship. I want a partner. I want a partner. That's what they say. I want a partner. And these women are single. They're as single as a doggone nail, okay? And many of them, shout out to Kevin Samuels, many of them are going to die alone. They're going to die alone. And if they don't die alone, they're going to die in the arms of another woman. They're going to die in the arms of another woman. They're going to do the lesbian thing. They're going to get them a liquor license. She's going to have a lick her license. A lick her license. You see all these studs walking around here with these black women. I just came back. I was in New Orleans. I was in New Orleans, Louisiana. I was hanging out on Bourbon Street. I was hanging out in the French Quarter in New Orleans just recently, just last week. And I can tell you, brothers, I saw studs and women. I saw lesbian stuff all over the place. Everywhere I turned, lesbian here, lesbians there, girl here, girl there, girl everywhere. That's their lot. That's their lot. They want to be with other women. They have signed on to the LGBTQ agenda and ideology. They'd rather be LGBTQ than be heterosexual. And this includes, and I'm talking about those who say that they're heterosexual. If they have a choice between a heterosexual black man and the LGBTQ tribe and being with another woman, they're gonna choose another woman. That's how twisted their psychology is. And they want to blame it on you, and they want to blame it on their daddy, and blame it on their uncle, and blame it on white supremacy, and they want to blame it on everything else, poverty and all this kind of stuff, and blame it on trauma. They want to blame everybody except the person that they see in the mirror. But we don't have time to fix them. We don't have time to fix them. And we're not trying to fix them. And that's the thing. Black men are exercising their options. They're exercising. Shout out to the black man's option. Shout out to the black man's option BMO. Shout out to them. Shout out to my brothers who travel all over the world. All the passport brothers on YouTube. All of them. So what are we doing explaining ourselves to people? What are we doing? This makes no sense. It makes no doggone sense. It doesn't make any sense. I'm a grown man. I'm darn near 50 years old. What I look like explaining to a black woman my age, a black woman older than me, a black woman younger than me, what do I look like explaining to a black man my age, a black man older than me, or a black man younger than me? What do I do? What do I look like explaining to him why I travel? This makes no doggone sense. I ain't got to explain. If my mother was still alive, I wouldn't explain that to my mother. If my mother was alive, she wouldn't deserve it. I don't owe her no explanation. If I tell anybody that I'm going to Africa because I want an African woman, I want a woman from an African country, that's my prerogative. If I want to go to Brazil, if I want to go anywhere in the world, if I want to go to a white country, I want to go to Asia, I want to go to China, Japan, I want to go to the Philippines, I want to go to Vietnam. I ain't got to explain that to anybody. That's my prerogative. That's what agency is all about. That's black male agency. And what we're doing is preaching black male agency. And we've let these people know that they're not going to dictate the futures of black men. And yes, and I'm gonna keep saying this. This is bigger. The travel enterprise It's much bigger than women. Women are part of it because we men. Don't get it twisted. Don't get it twisted. We are heterosexual men. In this space, we are heterosexual black men. I like women. I love women. I enjoy the company of a woman. I like spending time with women. And I would rather spend time and share my company with a woman who wants to be with me from a different society, who speaks a different language, from a different part of the world, than be with some woman right here in the United States who I got to struggle with, who I have to be in a combative stance with, who I have to fight all the time, who I got to explain myself to all the time. Someone who has adopted white supremacist, white nationalist views about black men. And that's period. We don't explain anything. How do you explain it? Don't make no sense. You're a single man, you're an unmarried man, and you want to hook up with somebody, and you want to cross those seas. You do that. You do that, my brothers. You have to explain to anybody why you got a passport, or why you have applied for a passport. You don't explain that to anybody. They don't own you. You're not a slave. You're not somebody's pet. You're not somebody's utility. You're not some dog, some guard dog. You're not some ConcuServe. Shout out to Dr. Tia Son Johnson. That's not who you are. That's not who we are. SYSBN. Save yourself, black man. Save yourself, black man. These women don't explain themselves to you. This black woman doesn't explain herself to you. This black woman demands that you get on her program. This black woman demands, not just the black woman, but the American woman. They demand that you conform to them. They demand that you are complicit with their agendas. They demand that you put them on a pedestal. They demand that you treat her like she's some goddess, treat her like she's something other than a human being. That's what they demand. And these are nonsense demands. Nonsense. I'm utterly disgusted. I'm utterly disgusted. Because there's a bunch of ignorance. Black men are showing a lot of these blue pill, and I told y'all this in one of my last stream. It's a lot of blue pill stuff that's going on right now in this space. A lot of blue pill, shout out to BJS, a lot of purple pill stuff. All this blue pill, purple pill stuff, and you talking to people who have not looked in the mirror. You having a conversation with people who are taking black men's talking points, who are taking black men's ideology, born through research, born through contemplation, born through high levels of reflection. They're taking these talking points and making a profit off of it and getting in on it, trying to colonize the space. And that's what happens. Whenever black men innovate something, whenever black men create something, whenever black men are on the cutting edge of culture, you always have people who come in and attempt to colonize what black men are doing. They attempt to colonize black men. They attempt to control it. They attempt to control it. And this is about control. It's always about control. It's always about control with black men. They're not trying to control white men. They're not trying to manipulate. They're not trying to colonize the white males. They're not trying to colonize the Latino males. They're not trying to colonize the Asian males, but they're trying to colonize the black man. And they want the black man to conform to their nonsense. Nonsense. You checking out passports. When you get your passport, It means you checking out. You done checked out. You checked out. We not going. You don't have to be going to these clubs and these restaurants. You don't have to go to all these concerts and all these events where you got all these people. You might have men and women, all that kind of stuff. I go to some of the stuff. I go to some of the stuff to people watch. I go to some of the stuff to record videos and to make commentary and everything like that. And I might talk to people like that. But at the end of the day, I'm not casting my lots in that. I'm not taking no risk in that. I'm not fishing in that pool. It's a fool's errand. It's a fool's errand. It's nonsense. Why are you explaining? Why are these black men explaining why they travel? I'm disgusted. I am particularly disgusted with these old conservative. You got these old highly conservative black men who have never left the United States. You've never. And I'm going to talk to you guys. You Trump supporters. You right-wing Trump-supporting black men who ain't never been anywhere. You've never left your zip code. You've never left your state. You've never seen the damn world. Never seen anything. And you got something to say about men who have traveled the damn world, like you know what's out in the world. And let me tell you something, brothers. You'll never, I don't care how much you read about other cultures. I don't care what reports you read about what's going on in a society, what you read about Brazil, what you read about Africa or Cuba, what you read about Dominican Republic. I don't care what you read about China and Japan. If you haven't been there, you don't know the place. You don't know it. And this goes for the men and it goes for the women. You got women commenting on what black men are doing in other cultures based on some stupid stuff that they've read off the doggone internet. Ain't never been there. You got women who are talking about women from other societies as though they know who these women are. You got women talking about women in these other societies as though somehow or another they speak for them. Well, y'all just going over there dealing with these poor women. Newsflash, newsflash, newsflash. There's wealth, prosperity, and affluence in those countries. There are middle-class women in those countries. There are upper middle-class women in those countries. There are upper-class women in those countries. And I've seen them, and I've met them, and I talked to them. There are doctors in Brazil. There are lawyers in Africa. There are engineers. Do you know how many doctors Nigeria produces? Do you know how many pharmacists Nigeria produces? Do you know how many people in tech Nigeria, the continent of Africa, produces? Do you know that? Continental Africans are far more superior in technology and STEM than black Americans. And that's why they're kicking our asses right here in the United States. The continental Africans, the people from other societies who come here, many of the immigrants who come here to the U.S. from these different cultures, they have middle-class backgrounds. They have upper middle-class backgrounds. They have upper-class backgrounds. That's why they're kicking our asses in this country. And a good lot of them don't leave. So you can go to any country. Like I said, I'm going back to Africa. You can go to South Africa. You can go to Kenya. And there are people in Kenya, in South Africa, people in Zimbabwe, people in the Congo, people in Senegal, people in Nigeria who got more money than most of us. Including the women. So all the women are not at the bottom of society. All of the women are not scraping and scrounging. They are not bottom feeders. They are not low-hanging fruit waiting to be exploited. This is nonsense. Foolishness. I've never, ever seen so much. And this is why, I'm going to be honest with you guys. I'm being honest with you guys. This is why I've stayed away from live streaming. I've stayed away from our space, our space. There's a bunch of ignorance. Just a bunch of ignorance. If you're fighting against travel, you are ignorant. You don't want to know anything about the world. You resist the idea of learning a different language. That means you're ignorant. You are ignorant. You don't want to travel. You don't want to experience a different way of doing things. See traditions. Do you know what it's like to go to an Islamic country, an Islamic country in Africa, and see how they practice Islam in Africa? Huh? Or African traditional religions? Or go to Cuba and see Santeria? Go to Haiti and see Haitian voodoo? Ignorance. I'm an educator. I'm an educator. I don't promote ignorance. And if I come off elitist, so be it. If I come off elitist, so be it. Because we have a lot of ignorant men in our space. And what that leads me to understand in a more deep way is the extent to which that we have been decimated. This is the extent to which black men have been conquered. The extent to which black men have been suppressed and repressed. The extent to which black men have been destroyed by America. Black men have been destroyed by the gynocracy, matrifocality, matriarchy, whatever you want to call it. It's like you're prisoners. It's like a black man who's been in prison for 40 or 50 years. He's a prisoner. He's institutionalized. You got the institutionalized black men. Can't imagine anything beyond the prison. Institutionalized black men. It's like that movie Shawshank Redemption. You remember the movie Shawshank Redemption? Y'all remember that movie Shawshank Redemption? Go back and watch the movie Shawshank Redemption. And in that movie Shawshank Redemption, there was an old man. Old man spent over 50 years in prison. Old man spent over 50 years in prison. He was an old man, a man in his 70s. He got released from prison. An old white man. He was released from prison, was on his own. And days within his release, this man could not tolerate being a free person in free society. And you know what happened in that movie? That man hung himself. He hung himself. He committed suicide. He committed suicide because he could not stand life in the free world. The only thing he understood was prison. The only thing he understood was incarceration. And it's unfortunate that the only thing that some black men, too many black men rather, is being locked up, being incarcerated by this American condition. You are institutionalized like a man that has been locked up for his entire life. And you can't imagine anything. You can't even imagine freedom because all you know is solitary confinement. All you know is a jail cell. All you know is some prison guard telling you what to do, when to wake up, when to go to sleep, when to eat, when to work, when to shower, when to do everything. This is the kind of nonsense that we're dealing with in this so-called space for men, for black men. I refuse to be institutionalized. I refuse. I'm not locked up. I ain't no damn prison. I don't want to be in no jail. I don't want to be in no detention center. I'm not gonna make no jail, no detention center my home. I'm not gonna make it my home. I'm not gonna make solitary confinement home. And that's what you got. You got these men, it's ignorant men. Ignorant. Ain't been nowhere. Policing the penises of black men. Worrying about what a man does when he's in a different society. With a woman. Doesn't matter. It's crazy. SYSBM. That's what we do. That's the moniker. SYSBM all day long. All day long, brothers. SYSBM. And I'm glad that the passport message is on TikTok. I'm glad the passport message is setting the world on fire all across social media. I'm so glad. On Instagram, everywhere. I'm glad that the young guys are doing it. Because as the message gets out, what does that do? It opens up the minds of black men. It opens up the minds of black men. It forces black men to look at their reality. Look at what they're dealing with right here in the U.S. And it compels them to go beyond the U.S. terrain, the U.S. experience. Save yourself, black man. Save yourself, black man. I don't care where you go. I don't care where you go in the world. I don't care where you go in the world. Get your passport. Get those stamps on the passport. Get the stamps on the passport. Spend the money. Do the work. Do the work. Go to work. Save your money. Get an extra job. Do what you got to do to enhance the quality of your life. Do everything that you have to do to improve your lot in this world. That's what it's all about. If you got to work harder, work harder. Become more disciplined. Become more disciplined as a man. Have some long-term goals. Stop wasting your time on people who have no real investment in you. You waste your time. Time is the most precious thing that you have. It is the most precious thing that you have. It is the most valuable commodity that you have on your side. Time. And you don't waste your time on people who are not invested in you. And that's that. And I'm not just talking about the women. I'm talking about everybody. I'm talking about everybody. This is an international thing. The globe, economics, capitalism. We live in a global, I've said this to you guys before and I'm going to say it to you again. We live in a globalized world. Capital is globalized. Money is globalized. Economic exchange is globalized. You can make money anywhere. You have technology. You can do that. You make economic relationships with all sorts of people all over the world. Not just black people. Not just black people. But you make economic relationships with everyone. Everyone who is interested, who has the same interest as you. It's called a fair exchange. It's called free trade. It's called free trade. And the people who hate this message and the people who are part of this backlash, they don't want to be competitive. They don't want to be competitive in the global marketplace. That's what it boils down to, the lack of competition, the lack of resolve. You don't want to compete. So the women who are mad, the women who are angry, they don't want to compete with women from other cultures. I said it to you before, the black American woman does not want to compete with the Brazilian woman. The black American woman does not want to compete with the Brazilian population of women. The black American woman does not want to compete with women from Ghana. They don't want to compete with women from Senegal. They don't want to compete with women from South Africa. They don't want to compete with women from across the diaspora. Women from Europe. Women from Thailand and the Philippines, they don't want to compete with them. They want to have a monopoly on the market. A monopoly. And I'm going to say this in closing, brothers. And I mentioned Jim Crow. There are lots of stories, guys. There are lots of stories during the Jim Crow era when black people were migrating. There are lots of stories of black people who got tired of living in the South. They got tired of living in Alabama. They got tired of living in Mississippi. They wanted better jobs. They decided that they were going to go to California. They were going to go to New York. They were going to go to Chicago. They made the decision. And they had jobs in those states where they were at. And guess what? The people who they work for, there's lots of stories. You can see this. The white people that they work for, there are stories of black people, there are stories of black men. There are stories of black men who worked fields. There are stories of black men who worked in mills and industries that were governed by white men. And the main mode of transportation during that time was the train. And there are stories of white men, white employers, white bosses standing and waiting at the train station. I want y'all to get this. There were stories in the time of Jim Crow. I'm talking about the 1890s to the 1960s, but especially during the 1930s and 40s, you had white capitalists who were trying to hold on to their workers, and they were trying to keep these black men from jumping on those trains. And there were lots of men. They had to find ways of getting around those white bosses who were intent and committed to keeping their employees, their slaves, in Alabama, in Mississippi, in Georgia, in Louisiana. They did not want them to go to California. They did not want them to go to Chicago. They did not want them to go to New York City. They did not want them to go to Pennsylvania. And there are horror stories. You need to read your history about the Great Migration. White people, lots of white people did not like the Great Migration because it took their resources. It took their labor force from them. It took their labor force. And they resisted it, and they fought against it. And we're dealing with something that's similar. We're dealing with something similar. So get on that train. Get on that train. Get on that train. Get on that plane. Get on that boat. Do whatever you have to do to exercise black male agency. Do whatever you have to do to be an empowered black man. You got to do it. This stuff is utter nonsense. And as I said, as I started this stream, brothers, I am completely, utterly, totally disgusted. Because it's ignorance. It's a bunch of ignorance. You're not going to see me. I'm going to tell you this, brothers. You're not going to see me on any panel. You're not going to see me on anybody's live stream defending passport brothers, defending men who travel. You're not going to see me explaining why black men travel. You're not going to see me on any live streams defending SYSBM. SYSBM doesn't need a defense. It doesn't need a defense. And I'm glad, my brothers, that these people are really exposing themselves. I'm glad they're really, really exposing themselves. These ignorant people, they're exposing themselves. They're exposing their ignorance. They're exposing the extent to which that they have been damaged. Let me tell you something. White people, the white upper class, no one tells the white upper class where to go in the world. White people believe that the world is theirs. Do y'all hear me? The white upper class, the white upper middle class, the white middle class, they believe that the world belongs to them. And they believe they can go anywhere in the world. And they believe that nobody is in a position to tell them to not go anywhere in the world that they want to go. And that's what they do. You can say what you want to say about domination and white supremacy and colonialism, but white people are still in Africa. White people are still in South America. They're all over Latin America. They're in the Dominican Republic. You got the Canadians, you got the French, you got the Germans. Ain't nobody stopping them. Ain't nobody stopping them from traveling the world and doing whatever they do when they go to those countries. Ain't nobody stopping them. And they're going to keep on doing it. And a part of them doing it has to do with their hold on the world and the world's resources. The Chinese are in Africa. The Chinese are in Africa. The Chinese are building infrastructure in Africa. The Chinese are developing Africa. The Chinese are out-competing European nations in Africa. And ain't nobody telling the Chinese what they can or cannot do. So this stuff is nonsense. It's foolishness. Expand your horizons. Do what's in your best interest. Travel. Get out of the country. Get out of the country. It changes your personality. It changes your outlook on the entire world. Travel. Do what you got to do to make it happen. I appreciate all you guys. I appreciate all of you guys. I had to come out here. The sun is going down now. I had to come out here and speak on this because I was seeing all of these streams. Very disturbing. Very disturbing. I find these conversations, I find it very, very disturbing. I really do. It's morbid. It's horrid. It's disturbing. It's nauseating. It's disgusting. Most of all, it's ignorant. It is completely ignorant. I knew that we were in trouble. I've always known that the black male population in this country has serious issues. I've always known that. That's why I came on YouTube. I've known this, that we have serious issues, internal issues, psychological issues. We've been damaged by our mamas and our daddies and people in our families and the society. But this conversation, I won't say this conversation, but this issue, this backlash really exposes how damaged a lot of black men are. It really does. And it really tells me that there are a lot of black men who are not ready for black men's independence. Not you guys who are on this space. There are a lot of black men that the idea of being empowered, the idea of having agency, the idea of being happy, apart from the gynocracy, apart from the culture of the United States, apart from this liberal feminist stuff that you deal with, to be independent of that is alien to a lot of these guys. Alien. It's alien. I see you guys. Again, I'm on my Android. I can't see. Thank you guys for all the super chats. I can't see. I got my Android, so I can't highlight a lot of your stuff, guys. I can't highlight everything because I got this Android. But I appreciate you guys, man. Y'all like, y'all share, y'all subscribe. Like, share, subscribe. I am the Mad Professor. I am the Mad Professor. Thank you, Ray Knowles. Thank you, my brother. Thank you, Dr. Thunder, for that super chat. Thank all of you guys, man. I appreciate all you guys and all of your contributions, all of your insights. I appreciate everything, everyone who has contributed, all you guys. Thank you, Ian Graves. Thank you, Tim Howard, all my moderators, all you brothers that are in the house. I appreciate you, man. I appreciate you. I appreciate you, man. I'm going to end this stream, guys. I will see you all next time around. Like I said, man, this is about black men's independence. This is about black men's agency. This is about black men's empowerment. And more importantly, this is about black men's happiness. You guys take care. And I will